Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
What's happening?
Great.
Trying to get some insight. To my understanding, you've been following this case from day one, in the courtroom, around the courtroom. Did you see this coming with the Judge Glanville?
I did. At this point, I think this is unsurprising. Glanville screwed up. So, I think this is the tip of the iceberg. The fact that he's off the case is one thing. I think he's going to end up in front of the Judicial Qualifications Commission. That's the state body that determines whether or not you're going to stay a judge.
Oh wow.
Really?
Yeah, this was bad, and the irony here is that the judge that said Glanville has got to leave says that he didn't do anything wrong, but it doesn't matter what she says. It's what that Judicial Qualifications Commission and the Georgia Supreme Court, that's who's going to matter in terms of Judge Glanville. For folks who are listening who are Young Thug fans, here's what I think happens next. There's a new judge that's been assigned. That judge, almost certainly the first thing that judge is going to end up hearing is a bond hearing.
Oh.
And I think it is predictable at this point that Young Thug is actually going to get a bond.
Really? Yeah, so that's what everybody actually wanted to know. On top of, do you think there will be a mistrial?
I think there should be. And I hate saying that, because I would like to see this resolved in court one way or another, immediately.
Right, because this had been the longest trial ever. And now, Judge Glanville is off the case, and then the judge after that, Brian Steele wanted her off the case because it was some dealings with Glanville allegedly, and now this new judge. So now all of this they have to start from the beginning.
If they end up with a mistrial, then yes, they have to start from the beginning.
Sheesh.
Understand that I expect the district attorney to re-indict and keep going after him. The charges are serious, and there's a lot of evidence, obviously. The question is whether or not they try to do it in a RICO. I think that's part of what screwed things up here. They do, other cases with similar stuff get through court in 3 or 4 months.
Right. Now, what's the deal with Lil Woody being on the stand?
I would like Lil Woody to not be on the stand or anywhere at this point. He is turning into this social media thing, and it makes light of the death of many, many people. Woody is the center of this case. Woody is why all of this happened. Woody getting robbed at Club Crucial in South Atlanta in 2015 is what set off the war. He is the person who knows what happened, and he is clowning. And it's for purpose. I understand that, because he's kind of screwed no matter what happens. He testifies, and everybody hates him, and there's a target on his back, which was the point that Brian Steele was making. He doesn't actually want this guy to get killed, or he doesn't testify, and he goes to jail. And honestly, at this point, him in jail in this jail might be more dangerous than him being on the street.
Talking to George Chidi this morning, who's been inside the YSL RICO trial basically from the beginning. Just for a point of clarity, is it because the meeting happened with Glanville, or what happened in the meeting why he's being recused?
It has nothing to do with the meeting and everything to do with what Judge Glanville said and did after the meeting. The judge that made the order for recusal said, the meeting was okay. But the law says once a recusal request has been made and accepted, the judge has to shut up. The judge has an obligation to not defend against a recusal, because that itself makes you look biased. And Rachel Krause said that's what Glanville did, and that was enough to create the appearance of impropriety.
All right, so new judge on the case, and they kind of pick up from where they started, correct?
Yeah, they'll start, from where things left off about a month ago. Except Brian Steele's going to say, look, this should have been declared a mistrial 6 months ago. Let's have a serious conversation about whether or not this should continue the way it's going. I feel bad for the jurors.
Wow.
I know, because it just resets all over again. But most importantly, you're saying that you think they may have a bond hearing and Thug may or may not actually get the bond because of how long he's been in jail.
No, it's not because of how long he's been in jail. It's because all of the other people have been out of jail.
Oh.
So, there were 28 defendants when this started.
Mm-hmm.
And, all but 6 of them are somewhere else. Like, the ones who have been convicted of a crime and are in prison or still in prison. But most of them were given probation as part of a deal, and they're on the street. And there hasn't been this wave of murders that was, being told, the DA was saying, you can't let any of these people out because it will be chaos. And there hasn't been chaos. He's going to say, look, I think this whole thing was about getting young Thug off the street for some period of time in order for the police to get crime under control during the pandemic.
Wow.
Murder rate went up about 60% during the pandemic. It was the highest, biggest spike of any large city in the United States. The district attorney comes in and says, I'm going to get this under control, and I'm going to go after gangs. And went after young Thug, in part because they have this huge investigation that had been going on for 7 years. But it also made an example of him. You could see a timeline where the murder rate starts to fall the week he got arrested.
Wow.
Now, I don't think he was out there murdering people, but I think it set a signal. And I think the DA and the judge sort of went with that because it looked like it was working. But there isn't a big murder spike going on now. We've regressed all the way back to 2019 numbers. And so the police rationale for keeping young Thug in jail is gone.
Well, George Chidi, we appreciate you. If people want to stay in touch with you and as you continue to follow this case, where do they need to connect with you?
So I have a Substack called The Atlanta Objective. I will be writing about this case for Rolling Stone.
I appreciate you, George Chidi, for all your insight this morning, and thank you for pulling up on the Big Ticket Morning Show with Jazzy McBee.
Anytime.
V103.